Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, do we have an episode for you guys here today. So make sure you go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, as some of you guys may be aware, we produced the show on our channel just 4 days ago. And in that show, we covered the relationship between Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. During a recent interview on the JJ Redick podcast, Stephen A. Smith discussed his close relationship with his former co-host in Skip Bayless. And he said that throughout their time as being friends and being colleagues, working professionally, he said that they never had a disagreement or a quarrel. They never quarreled, except towards the end of Skip Bayless's tenure at ESPN, when he was going through some contract renegotiations, and that's really when things became a little bit awkward, but obviously they ironed it out. During that interview, he said that him and Skip Bayless are close friends, and they're always in constant communication. So that's what Stephen A. Smith said when we covered that. When we covered that topic. But apparently, it seems that there were some parts of his story when he was talking about when him and Skip Bayless started working together on TV and specifically working on the show First Take together. It seems like some parts of his story are fabricated according to Skip Bayless. And apparently, some of the comments that Stephen A. Smith made during that JJ Redick interview and during that video we covered actually caused Skip Bayless to publicly address him and call him out for basically telling lies on that podcast. So for those of you who missed the comments, what we want to do is play the comments that Skip Bayless is talking about to give this video more meat and give it more context. So what we're going to do is play what Stephen A. Smith had to say in terms of how First Take really, blew up and how it went to the next level. Then we're going to come back. So take a listen to that here, and then we're going to come back. Take a listen to that.
What happened was Skip Bayless was doing First Take, and they were doing it based out of New York. It was called Cold Pizza, and they had just a regular conventional sports talk show, and they had incorporated debates for a segment here or there with Skip Bayless and Woody Page. Well, a couple years later, they moved it to Bristol, Connecticut, to the headquarters of ESPN, called it First Take, changed the name from Cold Pizza to First Take. And then one of these days, a guy by the name of Jamie Horowitz was an executive here, and he took over First Take for a short period of time. He did a focus group. And the focus group said, we don't want all that other stuff. We want debate. And so he took First Take from a conventional show and changed it into an all debate format featuring Skip Bayless. And that's when it really took off. Of course, Pardon the Interruption was already in play, Around the Horn and stuff like that. But as it pertained to First Take, that's where its real origin came from. People debating against him. And then in 2012, they weren't satisfied with the numbers. They weren't satisfied with the ratings, the level of revenue that was being generated. Skip Bayless comes to me in the parking lot on the campus of ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut. And he says, I know you got your plans. You love the NBA. You love being out on the road. You love being in the locker room. But he said, but I need you. He said, I've done all that I could to take this as far as I could go. I need you to do this for me, please. He said, I just need 3 years. He said, I think we'll knock it out the park. I thought about it. Those were clearly my best options. They weren't about to give me my own show or anything like that at the time. I thought about it for a couple of days. I said, all right, I'll do it. 1 month later, we were number one. And we've been number one ever since.
We talk about the chemistry all the time with things like this. Did you feel that chemistry right away?
Yeah, we always had the chemistry. Skip and I used to work at Fox together. Jim Rome is Burning.
Yeah.
He had that show on ESPN. It was called The Last Word when he was on Fox. And we would be in Fox studios off of Pico Boulevard and Avenue of the Stars, which I absolutely loved. The palm trees, the sunshine, lunch outside with 90-degree weather, sunshine beaming down. And y'all just loved it, And they did a pilot with Skip and I because Skip and I used to debate all the time and we never agreed on anything. But I love the fact that, again, he stood for what he felt. And his whole thing is, this is what I believe, and I can make that argument. Now, no matter how much I disagreed, I respected the fact that that's how he felt, and that was an argument that he could make. So we would debate sometimes in the hallways. And then the executives saw us one time. They watched him do his work. They watched me do my work when I was on the Best Damn Sports Show, period. And they said, let's create a pilot. And we created a pilot that was called Sports in Black and White. And they were basically trying to create it to go up against PTI. And we did it. They loved it. We were in contract talks the whole bit. And at the 11th hour and 59th minute, the head of Fox, David Hill, pulled the plug and said, this is not what we want to do. And so from that moment on, that was in the year 2000. From that moment on, Skip and I had always wondered what it would be like if we had worked together, because we had kept in touch throughout the years. So when the opportunity finally came and he approached me in that parking lot, that was what he brought up. This is unfinished business. We were supposed to do this 12 years ago, but here we are again, and this is our opportunity. Stephen A., I need you to do this for me. And by this time, I was coming on once a week because I had returned in 2011, and then a few months in, I would come on every Wednesday, and the ratings would blow up. And he said, I need you to do it.
Did your relationship with Skip ever fracture? Was there any contentiousness there?
Never. The only time anything came close to that was when I knew he was leaving before he told me. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And so I confronted him because for better or worse, I'm a straight up guy. If I work with you and all of a sudden I'm leaving, you ain't gonna find out from somebody else. You're gonna hear from me. I'm gonna come looking for you to tell you, I'm gonna give you the news face to face. And I was hearing it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then when he confessed to me what had transpired between his negotiations with the company, I understood why he couldn't tell me in the immediate moment. But that's literally the only thing that we've ever had any kind of issue about, and that lasted for like 6 hours.
So those were the comments that Stephen A. Smith made about how First Take became a #1 hit show. You heard what he had to say. Basically, he said that when he came on board, that's when the show really went to the next level, and Skip Bayless really needed him to take that show to the next level, because he said Skip at the time told him that he couldn't take the show any further than it had already gone. That's what he said Skip Bayless said to him. Well, apparently, that's not really how it happened, because yesterday, Skip Bayless came out on this show and dropped a bombshell of a revelation where he basically, believe it or not, called out Stephen A. Smith for essentially over-embellishing, or dare I say, flat out lying. So for those of you who missed Skip Bayless's comments that he made yesterday on the show, take a listen to what Skip Bayless had to say here, and we're going to come back. Take a listen to that.
Let me gather myself. What? I cannot tell you how wrong that was. It was so recklessly inaccurate. It was such shocking fabrication. And my first thought when Ernestine sent this to me to peruse, I thought, how could my brother Stephen A. turn on me like that? On me? Seriously? Stephen A. was suggesting that he saved and then made First Take. How can you save and make a show that was already as big a billion-to-one success story as ESPN had ever seen? The ratings and the revenues were impossibly great when Stephen A. joined me in 2012. With Stephen A. as my partner, First Take would never touch the NFL Monday ratings that it hit in 2011, pre-Stephen A. And I had taken First Take as far as I could. Seriously? I was just getting started. The rocket had just launched the year before in 2011. Stephen A., how dare you? So look, if Stephen A. had just blurted out what he blurted on that podcast and it had come and it had gone, maybe I wouldn't have chosen to fire back on my podcast. But fortunately or unfortunately, the New York Post wrote an entire story about those remarks. Then it seemed like every website from here in LA to New York picked up or reacted to the Post story. And suddenly I was in danger of this fiction becoming fact. If left unopposed by me, this outrageously revisionist history just might have morphed into bona fide history, and maybe it still will. Maybe it still will become part of that public domain, and in the future, I don't know, maybe every time someone goes to write about the all-time amazing success story, the against all odds rise of First Take, they will accept as gospel that Stephen A. saved and made First Take. But trust me, that is utter untruth. To use one of Stephen A.'s favorite words, that is just blasphemy.
Wow. That is all I have to say. So you heard it from Skip Bayless himself, and you heard him say that he was totally floored when Stephen A. Smith went on the JJ Redick podcast. He said one of the things that really caused him to talk about it was because all of these various media outlets were picking up on it, and he wanted to get in front of the story. And basically, it seems to me that someone here isn't telling the truth. The reason I say that is this. If these two guys were partners, which they were, why do they have two different stories on the chain of events that led to ESPN First Take being a #1 show? Why do they have two different stories? How is that even possible? That Skip Bayless would be saying one thing and Stephen A. Smith would be saying another thing. How is it? That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is the larger question, how is it even possible that we have two decorated journalists like Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless going at each other like this? How do they even find themselves in a mess like this? The only thing I can think of is either one of them went out there and said what they said to gain attention or over embellish their story to gain attention. And if that was the case, how is it possible with all of the clout, with all of the success that both Skip and Stephen A. Smith have, how is it possible that they find themselves in a situation like that, if in fact that is the case? How is it possible? How is this even this is a problem. This is a serious, serious problem. The need some people have for attention is disturbing. It is disturbing. The level of attention some people constantly need in order to stay pacified is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I don't really understand it. When we came into this business, you better believe me, I did not do this for no damn attention. Trust me, I could care less. I don't care about being famous. None of that stuff. I just like talking basketball. We enjoy talking basketball. And that's why we do it. And in the process, if we make a good living, fantastic. But if you think I'm doing this to get Twitter likes and follow me on Twitter and have people know, you got the wrong cat. That is not me. As long as my bank account is okay, as long as my family's okay, as long as my friends are okay, as long as my morals are in place, I could care less if I walk down the street and somebody knew me. Could care less. Adds nothing to me. For some people, they live for that. That's not me. And in this particular case, there are two things. One, someone is not telling the truth. And two, if someone is not telling the truth, why would you do that? Are you doing that to gain attention? And if that is the case, there's something awry here. Seriously awry. After listening to Skip Bayless, he genuinely seemed to be taken aback by the comments that Stephen A. Smith made. But then again, that's his side. Stephen A. Smith has his side. I wasn't there. The majority of you watching this video were not there. So the question then becomes, number one, do you believe that Stephen A. Smith over-embellished that story to make himself seem bigger and more important to the level of success that show had than he really did? Or do you believe that Skip Bayless saw this as an opportunity to gain some serious attention? Those are the only two options. And the question is, what do you think about this drama? To me, I'm a bit befuddled. But maybe some of our viewers will have a better grasp on what just took place. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section. We would love to hear what you guys think. Catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.